What is the dumbest reason someone got mad at you? My son got mad at me when I put apple chunks in his oatmeal after he asked for apple chunks in his oatmeal. Best case of toddler rage I've ever heard of. The kid started wailing because he didn't want a banana that wasn't being offered. My niece completely lost her mind recently when we called her by her first, middle, and last name. She didn't know she had a middle name and just couldn't cope. Then my daughter started sympathy crying. We just wanted to eat dinner. My wife occasionally wakes up mad at me based on something I did to piss her off in her dreams. I accidentally elbowed the crap out of our dog the other night because I was dreaming that my husband was cheating on me right in front of my face with no remorse. I cuddled the crap out of him once I realized it was a dream. Made me feel a ton better. Also hugged on my pup for a bit. Teacher threw me out of class in high school when I answered a question correctly after she thought I was sleeping in class. Still bothers me to this day. Get lost, Mrs. Forrester. My Latin teacher once went on a rant in front of the class about me doing well in tests, despite blatantly not putting any effort in. I didn't actually get to witness the rant in person because I was skiving off that day. I heard about it from friends. The teacher actually made me publicly retake a test that I made too high on and obviously cheated because I never paid attention in class. Retook it and made 100%. To this day, like one of the top 5 things I'm most proud of. A woman screamed at me because I wouldn't return a heavily used toaster she purchased 5 years ago at a store that doesn't even exist in Canada. I do not work at a place that sells toasters. This total stranger at a bus stop. He sneezed and I said, "Bless you." He replied angrily, "That wasn't a sneeze, it was a cough." And I said, "Sorry, I thought it was a sneeze." And he yelled, "Well, it wasn't." He was angry out of all proportion. I got death threats at work when I wouldn't accept a box of reptiles as payment for an electric guitar. The guy was later banned from the mall after trying to steal shoes from a mannequin. A girl that I'm friends with on Facebook always posts romantic, cheesy memes, and her husband always replies with like, "Oh baby, I love you more than words can say," etc. One day she posted some cheesy pic of a couple hugging with the words, "A real man knows there is no wrong time to squeeze his girl." So I commented, "Unless she has a broken rib, that'd be the wrong time." They both legitimately got so mad at me and tried to insult me by saying, "Well, you obviously aren't very romantic." My sister got mad at me for pointing out that she stole from an orphanage. Apparently, I made the fact that she stole from an orphanage sound bad. My husband and I went on a 5th-year anniversary trip. 2 people were mad at us for not inviting them. His brother was one of them. Those same 2 people were mad because we went on our honeymoon and didn't invite them. Well, there is just something wrong with them. I know! Who doesn't invite their brother and neighbor on their honeymoon and anniversary holiday? Rude. A coworker was angry with me because I called in sick from work. She wouldn't talk to me for 2 days, so I finally asked what her problem was. She said, "Well, I was feeling really sick and was going to call off too, but didn't. And I never take a day off sick, so it's kind of unfair that you did." What? I didn't put a smiley face at the end of a good night text. Someone got mad at me because I didn't get mad when I lost a game. I had a teacher get mad at me because I sneezed during a test. Same thing, but mine was a nosebleed and a sub-teacher threatened to invalidate my test. I have horrible seasonal allergies that cause bleeding like every day. Driving around with my BFF and I realize she is fuming. I have no idea why she is mad at me. I get mad at her for being mad. We get to her house and slam the doors and sigh exaggeratedly. Finally, she yells, "Why are you mad at me?" "Because you're mad at me." Yeah, we both thought the other person was mad for no reason when really we both were. Years and years ago, I was standing in line with a friend, getting some awful fast food. For context, I am Caucasian and my friend is of Chinese descent. We live in Canada. End of context. So we were waiting in line when a very animated lady of some kind of Asian descent started talking to my friend in whatever language she spoke from her country of origin. While my friend understands the Chinese dialect that her family speaks, she doesn't understand this woman and tells her so. You would have thought that we had just stabbed her. The lady started screaming in English that my friend was a disgrace to her people and that I was the devil girl influencing her away from her people. It was bad enough that the manager asked her to leave. I have never understood that one. She was in a burger joint in Canada, but expected anyone who maybe looked like her a tiny bit to converse with her in her native language. I have a similar story. For context, I am Asian but not Chinese. I live in Canada. I was working on my car late at night in my garage, and I had the door open for ventilation. A middle-aged Chinese guy walked up to me and started rapidly talking in Mandarin. I had limited knowledge of Mandarin, but I needed words to be spoken out slowly for me to understand. It was hopeless. My first thought was to get him out of the house. Even though he didn't look very threatening, it was a really awkward invasion of privacy. But all attempts to talk to this guy in English were futile. He would just pause for a bit, then keep talking. So in my very rudimentary Mandarin, I told him I wasn't Chinese. He looked like I just killed his children and then stormed off. I work at one of the world's busiest theme parks, and today a guest screamed at me because I wouldn't let their toddler on a roller coaster that they would literally fall out of. Then she continued to tug on my shirt and asked what I would give her for compensation. When I tried to give her a pass to enter another ride, she got even angrier and demanded I give her one to a brand new ride that just opened and had a 7-hour queue. After I explained that I couldn't because those tickets don't even exist, she got in my face, screamed again, and demanded I give her tickets to our competitor's park. After explaining I couldn't because our company doesn't own that park, she asked me what time I was finished work and told me she'd find me in the parking lot. All this because I wouldn't let her toddler go on a ride that they would have slipped out of. Me and my siblings used to get mad at each other for staring out of each other's windows on car rides. It sucked for the middle seater. One of my coworkers got mad at me for wearing skinny jeans to a company picnic. He had married a woman half his age and had her convinced that his drink gut was a natural response to aging and slowing metabolism. Well, I'm even older than him, so the wife saw through the lie, put him on a diet, and now I get the blame. I moved a book that was on my best friend's desk in 6th grade, just nudged it a little. She didn't talk to me for 6 whole months. A woman I had never met or seen in my life at a public event asked me where her kids were. I was confused and said, "I'm sorry, I don't know," and she yelled and asked where they put them. She stormed off, angry at me. I never had a clue why she asked me. I had plans on one particular night, and my 2 closest friends asked if I was busy. I told them I had plans that night, but could do something the next day. They proceeded to throw a fit because I refused to cancel my plans. I was already on the way there, and our argument resulted in us not talking for a weekend. This situation was recurring, but I usually gave in. I realized how much better off I was without the burden of people who got jealous or offended or whatever they were easily, and have talked to them sparingly since. That kid stole my phone. Met him once at my house at a party I threw. He loses his phone. In his eyes, that meant I stole his phone. Except when he told his friends I stole his phone, he did it by texting him using the phone he claimed I stole. Holy crap, that took me for a ride when it first happened. A few years ago, my wife and I found a random phone lying around. Wanting to do the right thing, we started texting people in the contacts trying to find the owner. We finally get to the owner, and she keeps insisting we're trying to ransom it, and she won't pay us. We repeatedly told her we didn't want anything, just let us know where we could drop it off. She keeps going back to the imaginary ransom that we never mentioned and how she's contacting the authorities, and we're going to pay for what we did. After 2 days of stupid crap, I said, to hell with it, and tossed it on the train tracks and watched a train run over it. One time, an unknown number called me and I answered because the area code was from my home state. This lady screamed at me saying I had her phone and that she was going to lose her job if she didn't get it back. I calmly explained that it was my phone and that I was out of state. She continued to freak out until the voice in the background said, "I think you called the wrong number." She immediately hung up. I was highly amused. We were out of chicken wings at my work. I'm the bartender. This happens quite often actually. Flabbergasts me every time. In the early 80s, my parents bought a home stereo. The face of it had a gaudy fluorescent orange paper sticker around the remote sensor that said "Remote Control Ready." Its sole purpose was as a shelf taker for the store demo models and was meant to be removed by the end user. The thing was a few years old and the cheap, uncoated paper had become soiled. So one day, while I was listening to music, I peeled it off. My mom got super mad about this for some reason. My sister got mad at me for helping my niece, her daughter, and my niece's infant son move out of the house that she was giving up to the bank. My sister wanted them to move into a trailer parked at her house, but my niece found a really good house sharing situation. My sister hasn't spoke to me since and told mutual relations/friends that if they talked to me she would not speak to them either. She's a control freak. I folded the towels wrong. My mom has a very specific way she likes the towels folded. And when I was a kid/teen, if all the towels in the closet weren't properly folded, she'd pull them all out, and I had to fold every single one correctly. I could probably write a book just listening to the dumb things that she used to get mad about, but this is the one I always mention to people because it's just such a ridiculous thing. Mine got mad at me for wearing black. So while I was at school, she burned all but like 2 pieces of black clothing. She also got mad at me for the hair in my eyes, so she cut it off so short that the only way to fix it was to cut it down to an inch long. I was a 14-year-old girl. That went over well in school. And here I was thinking I was the only one who had a mom who burned or destroyed their clothes. For me, it was all my boy clothes and non-form-fitting clothes. I wasn't allowed to get my hair cut. She chose the style and color, and I went on vacation with my older brother, and he took me to get my hair cut in a pixie cut. She and my dad were so mad. They still bring it up. I was 14 too. Dang, what is up with these people? I was walking in a completely empty area in school except for one other person. She was walking right toward me, not looking where she was going. I tried to move out of the way, but she still ended up bumping me with the hand that she was carrying her water bottle in. It fell on the floor, and then she glared at me for what was clearly her fault. My ex got mad at me that I didn't get her a birthday card while we were in the car on the way to Nashville for the weekend for her birthday. Needless to say, that relationship didn't last much longer. My ex got mad I didn't get her a birthday card on the flight to Vegas for 5 days, all of which I paid for. The relationship didn't last much longer after that either. My wife had a dream where I got a second wife. She was mad at me for a week. My boyfriend had a dream I cheated on him. I spent all day convincing him I wasn't. Been there, except my girlfriend had a dream that she cheated on me and got upset at me for not being upset at her for dreaming about cheating on me because it was just a dream, right? Most mornings are already pretty confusing times for me. This did not help. I retweeted a quote, and someone on Twitter went on a 20-tweet tirade at me for buying him a video game at full price. Because I didn't come during sex. Still baffles me how he managed to turn that around into a huge argument that ended in silent treatment for the night. One of my bridesmaids is mad at me because she is going to my wedding instead of the weekend concert. So there's that, lol. Kick her out of the wedding. Problem solved. A very good friend of mine got mad at me because I'm thin. So there you go. Watching Final Destination 3 with my ex, me hugging her head on my chest, and the scene with the girls dying in the tanning beds comes on. They are naked and my ex lifted her head up and punched me and then moved away from me. I asked what that was for, and apparently my heart had sped up at the naked girls on screen. I didn't have the heart to apologize for my autonomic functions. I found out that he had a crush on some girl that I've never even heard of. Just suddenly, he wouldn't speak to me at all. I'd try to ask what was wrong, and he'd just pretend I wasn't there. I asked his best friend if he had any clue what was going on, and he had no idea either. About a month later, we ended up having to partner up in a game, and he finally told me. I was like, "That's it? You won't speak to me because I know you have a crush on someone?" I apologized because I wasn't sure what else to say. After that, we were friends again. A teacher sent me out of class for arguing with her when she said Anne Frank survived the Holocaust. Her reasoning was, how could we have her diary if she died? I was on my class's camping trip in college, and on the last day we drove through town and the driver decided to treat us and buy us cupcakes. I decided to pick the chocolate coffee cupcake. Some random girl I met on the trip decided to berate me on my life choices and how caffeine is against the school and the church rules, and threatened to report me to the school to have me expelled unless I picked a different flavor. It was the best tasting chocolate coffee cupcake I ever had. For adding a haha to the end of a text to her. Needless to say, that friendship was over in a heartbeat. My mom randomly texted me at work and asked if I had Amazon Prime. I said yeah. She asked for my username and password. I said no, I don't give anybody any of my credentials as a matter of personal security, but I'll be happy to order whatever for you. She got really mad and said that I was being disrespectful and couldn't believe that I didn't trust her. Wouldn't talk to me or even look at me for a few days. She got over it. She's otherwise totally normal. My little brother cried when I tried changing his diaper, so my older brother threatened to fight me. My mom got mad at me because I couldn't find the thing on that thing. That's what she said exactly. My girlfriend was hangry and I had just eaten. She got mad at me because she couldn't decide what she wanted to eat. My wife used to do this fairly often early on when we were dating and living together. After a few times of waiting for her to decide, I would just give her a couple of minutes to decide, and if she couldn't, I'd go make what I wanted to make and eat it right in front of her. She got insanely mad a few times, but quickly realized that it didn't affect me and that I wasn't going to put up with that crap. Now she either decides quickly or just eats what I cooked. Jumping over a puddle in first grade. I even got lunch detention. Apparently it's a safety hazard. Who would have thought? Puddles are dangerous. I actually did pass out face down in one in high school. No one was there, it was a weekend, and I was late for a band competition and missed every one. Luckily, some guy was teaching his kid to ride a bike and found me. I came to in an ambulance. My ex got furious with me for taking the butter out of a box incorrectly. Even her mother made fun of her after that. I had an ex-girlfriend get mad at me for paying the bill once at a restaurant. She said she can pay for her own stuff. She was about $3,000 in credit card debt and had recently received a speeding ticket, and had just received a cut in pay. In my mind, I thought I was taking care of her. I didn't know I was rubbing her the wrong way for some reason. She yelled at me in public, threw her keys at me, and told me to drive myself home. Except that we were in her car, so I drove to her house and then walked home. Then she got mad at me that I walked home. LOL. Needless to say, I dodged a bullet bill and a blue shell on that one. Because I naturally remain calm and logical during arguments. The more heated the other person gets, the calmer I am. It's infuriating to people, and I am often the victim of people intentionally being very rude and hurtful to try and get a rise out of me. Had a friend who got mad at me because she thought I liked her baby more than I liked her. Postnatal depression. Fairly common for new moms in the months after a baby is born to get depressed, even if they haven't had symptoms before. It wears off eventually, but the first part is particularly rough. Ex-GF didn't talk to me for 2 days because I cheated on her in a dream that she had. My dog died and I was sad about it. She was mad that I was being clingy, so she broke up with me. Well, recently, a girl got mad at me for replying to her messages too fast. I am on my phone, doing things, and the messages pop up on my friggin' screen. WTF am I supposed to do? One time, my grandpa legitimately threw a fit because I slept in till 8 a.m. on a Saturday. You gotta wake up when the sun first rises to get the most out of your day. My sister got mad at me for telling her mermaids don't exist. She's 21. My ex was extremely controlling and emotionally abusive, so if I didn't text back quickly enough or call him or answer the phone when he expected me to, he would throw a fit. I think the biggest one though, we were out shopping because he needed new pants, and I saw the cutest gay couple. I posted something about it on my Twitter account, an account I'd had for years and didn't think to tell him about because it just wasn't a thing to me. That caused a 3-day fight because I was hiding things from him and not being honest, even though when he asked, he could easily see it was me fangirling over bands 90% of the time, and the other 10% was just me being my normal weird self. I still have weird anxiety issues over it today. I'm a referee at youth soccer games. This one time, a coach almost ran into the field fuming because I called for a foul of one of their players. The foul was a tackle from the back with 2 stretched out legs. Coach's argument? The person who got tackled was a girl. My niece blew up on me in front of the whole family because I was eating a candy bar before dinner. This one might not count, but here we go. I was working at the Cult of Dave Thomas, or Wendy's, at the back window collecting money and washing dishes. That's it. I wasn't taking orders, just taking the monies. A man pulls up to the window in his red top-down convertible and asks me, "Why do I have to tell you how to do your job?" I have no idea what he's talking about. It turns out that he ordered a burger, fries, and a shake, and the order taker had asked, "Do you want that in a combo?" instead of just doing it. The guy was really upset. As I said, I had no idea what he was talking about, so I basically said, "Huh?" And he repeated himself, way more upset this time, I think, insulting my mediocre intelligence. I just turned and got my manager, who refused him service. He drove to Burger King across the street. My manager looked at me and said, "Some people, right?" Or something to that effect. I still live in the same town and see the guy at my current job. Every time I do, I'm reminded of that incident and I want to find where he works and do the same thing. My ex got extremely mad at me because I didn't tell her how I like my tea. I asked her why she didn't just ask me before making it. When I was in the 5th grade, my best friend got mad at me because I forgot my toothbrush at home when I spent the night at her house. My wife, while pregnant, once threw me out of the house and didn't let me back in until the next morning because she thought I was using too much water while washing the dishes. A girl in a class I had in college once chewed me out because I didn't like some young adult novel. Please say it was Twilight. My sister once yelled, "You're so un-American," for saying the show Friends sucks. Not me, but one time while I was a kid and having a sleepover and playing video games with my friends, my dad walked in and asked if we wanted to order pizza. Us being young boys, of course we did. So my father asked what we wanted on the pizza and my friend replied, "Pineapple." I'm not sure why, but my father took legitimate personal offense to this. He began to yell at my friend until he was near tears. Pineapple pizza. My friends know I work nights and sleep afterward in the morning to afternoon. My friends made plans to hang out through text while I was sleeping. They got mad at me because I didn't show up. They knew that I had worked that night, but expected me not to sleep after a 12-hour shift. Didn't finish my homework so my friend could copy it. That friend eventually failed and left the private school that we were in. Also, the same person got extremely mad at me since I suggested that he should stop biting his nails, which made them look like he barely had any, probably because we were surrounded by many others, and he didn't like the attention he was getting for his nails. My ex would always try to make me jealous and angry. Whenever she succeeded, she got mad that I was jealous and angry. When I was 15, a buddy and I got really into fitness. After a few months of gym time, a girl calls me and says, "Heard you're getting a six-pack." I responded with, "No, why?" She then proceeded to yell, "Get lost," and hung up. A few years ago, my mom got a new job with a lesser salary and we had to adjust to the new normal. It was stressing my mom out because she had to rework her budget and crap was tight, too tight. This put my mom on edge, and we started getting into arguments about everything. The final straw was when my mom got angry because I corrected her when she said that Michael Keaton was the first Batman. When she started yelling at me, I just calmly said, "You realize we're arguing about Batman, right?" That was 2 years ago, and I'm happy to say we haven't had any dumb arguments since. She got mad at me because the guy she was into liked me, even though I didn't like him back. Girls are dumb and evil to each other. At the start of one memorable Girl Scouts meeting, 2 of us girls were tasked with making drinks for the rest of the group. Shelly and I headed into the scout leader's kitchen, got out a pitcher, a long wooden spoon, a canister of sugar, and since it was the 80s, a packet of Kool-Aid. We divvied up the operation so that I would do the mixing and powdering while Shelly would measure out the sugar and water. While Shelly was busy measuring the sugar, I opened the Kool-Aid packet and poured the powder into the pitcher with a little bit of water that she had already measured out. This is when the rage started. She shouted at me, "What are you doing? Are you some kind of idiot? What type of moron puts the powder in first? I'm going to tell on you." I was a bit taken aback and asked her how she did it. In her snottiest princessy 8-year-old voice, she said, "Well, I put the powder and sugar in last." Little me was trying to be helpful and was like, "But if you put the powder and sugar in first with a little bit of water, you don't get all those floaty chunks at the top." That's when she started laying into me about how I was doing it all wrong. Within a few seconds, I had had enough of the yelling and decided to go outside and leave her and the unfinished Kool-Aid behind. Unfortunately, Shelly followed me, slamming the screen door in the process, and continued to shout about how I was too incompetent to mix the drink properly. I just started walking off the property when the leader came out to see what was going on. I told her Shelly was screaming at me about making the Kool-Aid wrong and I wanted to call my mom to come pick me up. That's when the leader looked at me and said, "You must have done something to make my daughter yell at you. She's never like this." The penny dropped. I hadn't realized they were related. Knowing there was now no way to win this one, I asked again if I could call my mom to come pick me up, and then sat on the curb until my mom arrived. Let's just say I never went back to any Girl Scouts meetings. Thanks for watching until the end. Who did you tick off? Tell us about it in the comment section below. Then be sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when our next video is ready. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.